When indoors, masks will now be required anytime you're with people outside of your household, even if you are socially distant, more than 6 feet apart.
Welcome to Hold the Line. I'm Buck Sexton. That was Pennsylvania Secretary of Health, Dr. Rachel Levine, announcing new restrictions, including a new mask mandate that applies inside your own home. Pennsylvania is just one of 36 states that currently have some form of mask mandate on the books, a measure, as we've been told for many months, that is very effective in preventing the spread of COVID-19. Some experts have gone as far as to claim that masks could reduce transmission of coronavirus by up to 50%. Despite the claims, there have been no controlled studies to actually test that theory until now. A long-awaited and, in fact, long-delayed study out of Denmark that was just published today in the Annals of Internal Medicine shows masks are not all they're all cracked up to be. According to researchers from Copenhagen University, a hospital, they found that, quote, the recommendation to wear a surgical mask when outside the home, among others, did not reduce at conventional levels of statistical significance the incidence of SARS-CoV-2, which is just COVID-19, fancy speak, infection in mask wearers in a setting where social distancing and other public health measures were in effect. Mask recommendations were not among those measures, and use of community masks was uncommon. In other words, they don't really do a whole lot to protect you. Now, I understand what the pushback is going to be on this, so let's just deal with it right away. It's only one study. Okay, why aren't there other studies? Why did they delay this study? This had thousands of people, and it's a pretty straightforward way, using the scientific method they went about this. They had roughly 3,000 people who were told, wear masks. Let's see how many of you get sick. In the same population, outside the home, about the same number of hours every day. Another 3,000 people or so were told, don't wear a mask. Let's see how you do. And the infection rate between the two after the study ended was roughly the same. I think it was about 1.8% to 2.1%. Statistically insignificant. Now, where people dig into this, and I've read this study through several times to make sure that I don't miss any key details, is they will say now that, one, the rest of the public in Denmark was not necessarily masking up at the time. That is true. And two, they still now claim that masks protect other people from being infected by your expulsion of the virus. But here's the problem with that. One, they have actually no evidence, no actual hard scientific data to support that theory. And two, that's not what we've been told recently, including by the CDC, which as of last week was saying, oh yeah, masks, very, very effective in protecting you, meaning stopping virus from coming into your body from someone else. That's what we were told. That was an evolution from my mask protects you and your mask protects me. They moved on from that to no, masks are just great. They stop virus like a steel door. But that's not actually what happens, friends. If you go and look at the history of this debate, we are now at a point where we can at least say masks are highly imperfect as protection for you if exposed to this virus. Oh, we're talking about cloth masks here. They'll probably also focus in on how not the right masks, or maybe you need two, maybe you need N95s. Constantly shifting guidance, but at every stage of the guidance, the lockdowners, the mask shamers, they insist that they are right. And if you question them, you're an evil person that wants grandma and grandpa to die. That's what they say to you. Trust me, I've been one of them, and this has been going on for months. That's what they tell me every time I point out things like, look at the evolution of the mask mandate. I'm talking about this year. Look at what they were saying, look at what they say now. Let's take a trip down memory lane. Here is Dr. Fauci in March.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is.
That guy had been in public health for decades. Some call him Saint Fauci. He's on the cover of magazines now. He's been the single most powerful voice for these COVID lockdowns and these mitigation measures, as he calls them. That was in March of this year. It might block a droplet, but it doesn't really make sense because it's not that good. That's fascinating because by May, the idiot thug governor of New York, Cuomo, was saying stuff, again, no medical background, but still seized emergency powers. He was saying stuff like this. Play it.
You could literally kill someone because you didn't want to wear a mask. I mean, how cruel and irresponsible would that be?
What do we have, about 60 days there? March, April into May? Maybe 60 days. We went from the top public health expert in the United States, at least as cited by the media, saying, wearing a mask, come on. Might help like a tiny bit, but it's really a waste of your time. It's not really going to do anything in the middle of a pandemic. You heard his words. I'm not making it up. 60 days later, Cuomo's saying, if you don't wear a mask, you're basically killing people. Oh, where was the science change in there? I just want to know. Or was it that the government couldn't do enough to protect people and all they could come up with was panic measures like a lockdown and masking? Gee, I think we should ask that question. It gets worse. CDC Director Redfield, the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, we're supposed to think that they really know what's going on with this stuff because, they're about disease control. And here's what their director said in September. So we're talking about just about 2 months ago. The chief of the CDC said this about masks.
Face masks, these face masks are the most important, powerful public health tool we have. And I will continue to appeal for all Americans, all individuals in our country, to embrace these face coverings. I've said it, if we did it for 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, we'd bring this pandemic under control. These actually, we have clear scientific evidence, they work, and they are our best defense. I might even go so far as to say that this face mask is more guaranteed to protect me against COVID than when I take a COVID vaccine.
Someone explain that one to me. I'd be very curious to see the math, see the numbers on that. You have vaccines that, as of this week, we're told are up to 95% effective. You get it, and you have a 95% chance of not contracting COVID-19. The face mask that he was waving around there telling us is the most important public health tool. We just saw a study with thousands and thousands of people, about 6,000 all told, involved, and it said that there was no statistical evidence to indicate that a mask protects you. Now, does your mask protect other people? I would love to see studies on that too, but I have a feeling we're going to have to wait quite a while for that one because we all know this has become an issue of much more than just whether or not you're trying to take basic public health measures. They keep telling us that it's not political, and then they make wildly political statements about it. Biden, the Democrats, the mainstream media, the mask lockdown chorus, they say, wear a mask or else, and Trump is to blame for not wearing more masks out there. That's why people are getting sick. That's what they'll tell us. And Joe Biden will even say that it's now your patriotic duty.
We can save 100,000 lives in the next 100 days, according to the head of the CDC, if everyone wears a mask in public. So be patriotic. It's not about being a tough guy. It's about doing your part.
Yes, this is about patriotism now. Notice how he cites the head of the CDC, who we just showed you, told you that a mask was more helpful in protecting you than a 95% effective vaccine. Now, he didn't know it was 95% effective at the time, but he knew that it was a vaccine that was likely to be something around that number. And yet the actual data we have on a mask protecting you when you go out and wear it, no different than walking around without a mask on. Oh, do other people with masks on protect you? We'll have to see. Who wants to take a guess right now as to whether all the people that believe that masking is so important and that this is the only thing we need to do, that even if we had a peer-reviewed scientific journal study published that looked at whether your mask protects other people, as in it limits your transmission if you are positive to them, you think they'll change their mind even if we get the same kind of result out of that study? No, they will not. Mask wearing is almost a religion to these people now. It's unfalsifiable. There's no data you can provide to them that will make them give it up. And now what we see is rising cases all across the United States. New York City is shutting down its 1.2 million kids from public school. They are being told tomorrow, you're not allowed to go to public school anymore. Stay at home. We're going back into lockdowns, which have not worked. The data tells us that. We're going back into this mask-wearing mania, which the only real data we have says at best works very little. And yet, if you question any of this, you're told you're a bad person. You're told that you're the problem. You're the reason that we continue to have this virus out there in the first place. If mask wearing is so effective, why is it that we are now going into lockdowns in major cities and we're seeing record numbers of spread all across the country at the same time when we have the highest rate of mask adoption by all of the studies anywhere that have been done during the pandemic? Does anyone even begin to have an answer for that? Oh, that's right. You're not doing a good enough job. Not masking up enough, you see? You can never mask up enough. They love this control and power. And also always remember that people don't want to be wrong. They don't want to admit that they went along with the crowd, that they were part of the herd, that when people told them to bleat like sheep, they did so. Because as long as they're fed and safe and warm, it's all the same to them. It doesn't matter. Their freedoms, their liberties, who cares? People don't want to admit that. But more Americans are waking up right now to what's really happening. That the experts who keep telling you, as if we're all a bunch of idiots that can't figure anything out for ourselves, just do what we say and everything will be fine. They're creating disasters for the economy, disasters of drug overdose, of undiagnosed cancer. And what benefit do they provide? Oh, they don't really give us much on that, do they? But mask up or else. The force of the state now being brought to bear here. This will be looked upon by future generations as a disaster pushed by hysteria and partisanship. That much I can tell you is coming. Hey Team Buck, just want to say thanks so much for watching the first on YouTube. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more great content from the first, please click that subscribe button.